Hello and welcome to God's own country. And it's God's own country in more ways than one. Why do all of us love covering and understanding elections in Kerala? And why will you enjoy learning from the people of Kerala? This place loves elections. Every 10 yards there's a poster, there's a hoarding, there are drums being beaten, there are small side corner speeches by politicians everywhere, and discussions. This is a political state. The manager of the hotel we were staying at, Vikas, told us that he's been in many hotels, and in every staff canteen, the staff wants entertainment shows, they want channels which are showing Bollywood. In Kerala, the staff say we want news channels, and of course NDTV. Not really. They want obviously the local channels. They live, breathe, understand and teach us all about politics in Kerala. This is the festival of democracy. Elections here are a festival, and it's fun to watch and learn and to go one step more deeper in understanding. We've now done 4 states. By far the most political, this one?
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned many things that happened here, but I think you forgot street theatre.
Street theatre, yeah.
So this is a very politically alive state, yes, without a doubt. But it's also a very polarized state. So most voters already have their minds made up. Their loyalty is fixed. So
when you're talking about a floating voter, it could be like 1%.
1%, yeah.
Bengal isn't that far apart in terms
but you
of
don't see the
intensity.
posters and
I
the
think
street corner, and the discussion is much more.
Literacy,
I've seen
literacy level is very high.
But let's have a look.
Very high.
Let's have a look at what Kerala is all about. Who's going to win this election? Now we'll start at the macro kind of level, and we'll go into everything in depth. And you'll hopefully at the end of this half an hour, a little more than that, 45 minutes, you will understand what elections in Kerala are all about. But first, who's got the edge according to the last 2 elections? The last assembly election in 2011, let's have a look at that. The UDF, that's the Congress, remember, won 72 seats. Remember, 71 is the halfway mark. So just one above with 46% of the vote. The LDF, 68 seats, just 4 seats less, a swing of 2 seats, and the whole government could change. And it's a tribute to Kerala that for 5 years, with a margin of a swing of just 2 seats, that 72 went down to 70 and 68 went to 70, it would be a completely different government. But they've lasted 5 years without toppling, without horse trading, where many northern states do it with bigger, much bigger margins, as we've seen. So 2011, UDF. 2014, the Lok Sabha election, the big Modi wave, look at what happened. The UDF went up, did even better, 80 with 42% of the votes. LDF, 56, that's the left, that's the CPM front, 56 seats only with 40% of the vote. Again, only a 2% difference. And that is the story also, as you see, of Kerala as it unfolds. And the BJP went up from 6% to 11%, a huge jump, and is hoping it will do even better, if not hold on to that this time. So that's the first part. The UDF has got a solid foundation, but have a look at this. This is another state where there's yo-yo politics. The left is in, the left is out. The left is in, the left is out. Congress is in, Congress is out. It is a revolving door, what they call yo-yo politics. No, the voters teach whichever government it is a lesson every time and kick them out only to bring them back later. Now let's move on to our next graphic, which gives you an understanding of the BJP. How important is the BJP going to be in this election? Look at this. The BJP has always done better in the Lok Sabha. Historically, we're going way back to 1996, 20 years ago. Vidhan Sabha, then up to the Lok Sabha, vote went up to nearly 9%, then down in the Vidhan Sabha, then up in the Lok Sabha to about 12%, then down again, up, down, So the Lok Sabha, on average, the BJP almost gets double what it gets in the Vidhan Sabha. 9% for the Lok Sabha and 5% for the Vidhan Sabha. You'd expect that. It's a national party. It will do better at Lok Sabha elections than Vidhan Sabha elections. We'll be asking exactly that question to the local head of the BJP here in Kerala. Well, what we actually enjoy most about this program is to introduce to ourselves and to everybody local leaders. You go to Assam, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, you find, frankly, the big Delhi leaders don't mean much here. It's the local leadership which you don't see on the national channels much. And they're articulate, they're charismatic, and they mean everything. Now, finally, one last characteristic of the Kerala elections, just look at the index of opposition unity. When it's 100, it's perfect, 2 parties. Here it's 84. That is very high, but that camouflages the fact there are actually many parties, probably 25 parties. But they all form united fronts. There's the United Democratic Front and the Left Democratic Front. So Kerala, index of opposition unity, very high, very united, almost a 2-party fight, 84. And compared to an all India average, just to give you a relative figure, just 62. So Dorab, when you have an index of opposition unity so high, a small swing can make a huge change in seats.
1 or 2% swing is all that anyone requires to win an election in Kerala or to lose an election in Kerala. And this is not so only of Kerala. In the past, Tamil Nadu has also been in Bengal. In Punjab last time, there was difference only 1%. And yet the seats make a big difference. So it's the small margins make big differences.
I must actually apologize or actually explain something on behalf of Dorab. He's been working very hard to get this husky voice. All his life he's tried. This election he's actually been campaigning and the voice is gone. So the other good thing, you can do a favor, you won't have to talk so much because we are sympathetic, you know. You can spare all of us the
bother.
We don't let him talk very much anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So Shekhar, when you look at this and you see very narrow margins of victory, 2 fronts that have been historically interchanging, the yo-yo politics, just 1% change, as Dorab said, 1 or 2%, the whole thing changes. So how can anybody forecast what's happening?
Yes, absolutely. I think this will be a forecaster's nightmare, because how can you determine whether a total of 1 lakh votes will go one way or the other, and that decides everything, and that's the beauty of the first past the post system. Right. But hidden behind this is another message, which is that no government has performed so well as to be re-elected. So don't just blame voters for giving you this perfect yo-yo. Right. It's so perfect, it looks like it's come out of a cartoon film. Right? But the fact is that no government's been able to deliver, and that's because I do not think that on political economy there is sufficient distance between the 2 coalitions. Right. So Kerala's politics is fought along 3 streams: left of left, and even more left of the left. To that extent, I would say BJP is now a spoiler. It's now introducing some variety in the context.
The key, I suppose, Dorab, for the BJP is, will it go back to its 6% like every Lok Sabha it goes up, and this time it went up to 11? Will it go back to 6, or will it stay at 11%, or will it be, because 11% it can make a big difference.
It is 6 to 11. There was 10 once and 11 later. Both these high Lok Sabha figures were at time when the BJP in the national was high. Right. One was India shining, the other was Mr. Modi shining. Right. This time I think the BJP central leadership is putting in the kind of effort which you've rarely seen in the past. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go above the 6% mark. They've tied up with allies, with newer parties. I think they want to get themselves there. And don't forget, in the last Lok Sabha election, they won no seats. But in Shashi Tharoor's seat, we were sitting now, they won 4 out of the 7 segments. 4. Right. So, you know, they have established a presence already. Mr. Rajagopal, who's fighting, he's done very well here.
I just want to get back to this point about the left and the left of left and the left of left. So we have interesting situation in the left Democratic front here. There are 2 towering leaders, both very different. There's Mr. Pinarayi, very intelligent, very measured, very a party man, a deliverer, a man who actually works action, is action on the ground. Then you have, again from the LDF, the 92-year-old V.S. Achyutanandan. He is charismatic. You think he's 92? He's certainly younger than I am. He's amazing. He has the crowds enthralled. And nobody knows who's really going to be Chief Minister. But I'm going to ask Shekhar, after we listen to Mr. Achyutanandan, what he thinks of Mr. Achyutanandan and whether he is going to be the next Chief Minister. Let's hear what VS has to say. If the party decides you will be Chief Minister, you will accept? You're ready for it?
Surely.
If they say 1 year for you and then like Jyoti Basu formula, rotating, will you accept?
Details, I did not agree.
Bengal, the Congress, and you are fighting together. You are fighting against each other. What is your view on the Bengal experiment?
രണ്ട് സ്ഥലത്തെയും പ്രത്യേകതകൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയിട്ട് അവരവിടെ എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന സമീപനം തൃണമൂൽ കോൺഗ്രസിൻ്റെ ക്രൂവലായിട്ടുള്ള ബിഹേവിയർ അതിനെ നേരിടാൻ നോട്ട് ഓൺലി ദി കോൺഗ്രസ് ആൻഡ് CPIM, all the other parties also together to fight Mamata. Isn't it?
Sir, what is the secret of your great personal popularity?
ജനകീയതയുടെ പ്രശ്നം ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് നിഷ്കളങ്കമായിട്ട് ഞാൻ പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്നു എന്നുള്ളതിൻ്റെ റിസൾട്ടാണ് ജനങ്ങൾ എന്നോട് കാണിക്കുന്ന സ്നേഹബഹുമാനം.
So I want to ask you a personal question. You are 92, 93?
92.
We are getting there and we want to relax in life. What keeps you fighting? What keeps you going?
ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ അഖിലേന്ത്യാ പൊസിഷനും കേരളത്തിലെ വളർന്നു വരുന്ന രാഷ്ട്രീയ സ്ഥിതിഗതികളിൽ തന്നെ അഖിലേന്ത്യാ രംഗത്ത് മോഡി ഗവൺമെൻറ് ഈ രാജ്യത്തെ ഫാസിസ്റ്റ് രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു ഡെവലപ്മെൻറ്റിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഡെമോക്രാറ്റിക് വേ ഓഫ് ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡല്ല. കേരളത്തിലും തദനുസാരമായിട്ട് ഉള്ള ജനാധിപത്യ ശക്തികളെ കൂട്ടിയോജിപ്പിക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് CPIM and other left and democratic parties ശ്രമിക്കുന്നത്.
So you are the tallest political leader in Kerala. At the same time, you are also in Edava. Now, the BJP is trying to get the Edavas together. Will that hurt the CPM during the election because they have formed an Edava party which is tied up with them? Will that take votes away from you?
ഞങ്ങളും കമ്മ്യൂണലായിട്ട് തന്നെ ചിന്തിച്ചോളണം എന്നില്ല. ഞങ്ങളെ ഒരു ക്ലാസ് ഔട്ട്ലുക്കോട് കൂടിയിട്ട് ആണ് സമൂഹത്തെ കാണുന്നത്.
Sir, personal question. What keeps you so fit?
അതെല്ലാം എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിനെ ആശ്രയിച്ചാണ് ഇതെല്ലാം നിൽക്കുന്നത്. ഞാൻ യോഗ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്, കാലത്തെ വൈകുന്നേരവും നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, സാമാന്യനുള്ള ഭക്ഷണവും കഴിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇതാണ്, അത് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ നമ്മുടെ വ്യത്യാസം.
So, sir, at least on yoga you agree with Mr. Modi. On one thing you have an agreement.
ഇല്ലില്ല.
Not with Mr. Modi.
What is your policy on prohibition? You agree with the current policy?
മദ്യനിരോധനം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു പാർട്ടി, ഞങ്ങളുടെ പാർട്ടിയുടെ നയം പിന്നെ മദ്യവർജനമാണ്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ക്രമേണ ആളുകളെ അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അതിൽ നിന്ന് ആ ദുഷിച്ച രീതിയിൽ നിന്ന് അവരെ രക്ഷിക്കുക എന്നതാണ്.
The role of the BJP, many people are saying this is instead of a two-way fight, three-way fight, triangular, BJP. How important is the BJP? Will it be much better?
BJPയുടെ അങ്ങനെ കൂടാൻ സാധിക്കില്ല. കാരണം ജനങ്ങൾ പിന്നെ സാഹിത്യകാരന്മാരും കലാകാരന്മാരുമായിട്ടുള്ള മഹാരാഷ്ട്രയിലെ പൻസാരെയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കർണാടകത്തിലെ കൽബർഗിനെയും എല്ലാം തന്നെ കൊലപ്പെടുത്തിയത് അവര് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു മിയർ പിന്നെ പൊളിറ്റീഷ്യൻസ് ആയിരുന്നില്ല. അവരൊരു സാഹിത്യ കലാകാരന്മാരായിരുന്നു. എങ്കിലും അവരെ ഇമീഡിയറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് കൊലപ്പെടുത്തുക എന്നുള്ള നിലപാടെടുത്തപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ ഈ പിന്നെ ഫാസിസ്റ്റിക് ടെൻഡൻസി അത് വളരെ ക്രൂവൽ ആണെന്ന് തന്നെയാണ് എനിക്ക് എന്റെ അഭിപ്രായം.
If it goes up, will they take votes from the Congress or from the left? Where will the BJP votes come from?
കോൺഗ്രസിൽ നിന്നും മറ്റു പാർട്ടികളിൽ നിന്നും എനിക്ക് പറയാനേ കഴിയില്ല. CPIM or ലെഫ്റ്റിന്റെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്നായിരിക്കില്ല.
Why so much violence taking place between your party cadres and RSS BJP workers? So many people are getting killed.
അത് പിന്നെ BJP ആയിട്ട് മാത്രമല്ല, മറ്റ് ചില കമ്മ്യൂണിസ്റ്റ് പാർട്ടികളുമായിട്ടും ചില ക്ലാസ് പാർട്ടികളുമൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് CPIMന്റെ ആളുകളുടെ ഏറ്റുമുട്ടലും മരണങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഈ പിന്നെ RSS ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് പീപ്പിളുമായിട്ടുള്ളത് ഒരു പ്രത്യേകമായിട്ട് അവർ ഈ കൊല്ലുക എന്നുള്ളത് തന്നെയാണല്ലോ ഒരു സിദ്ധാന്തമായി എടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ആ നിലയിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ അതേ നാണയത്തിൽ തന്നെ ചിലപ്പോൾ തിരിച്ച് കൊടുത്തുന്നിരിക്കും.
Mr. Achyutanandan there, a veteran and still ready to be the next chief minister. Is he going to be the next chief minister?
Well, I think, he could be the Bengal formula, that he might be there for a year to keep all his... He's got enormously loyal followers, not the party hacks, but, the guys in the street. So probably for a year or so, and then move on to Mr. Vijayan for the longer term.
Vijayan Pinarayi. So he seemed quite okay with doing this one. He is accepted. He says whatever the party says, but he has been known in the past to be a bit of a troublemaker. He doesn't listen to the party. He's a flamboyant guy. You could tell.
Little more than a bit of a flamboyant guy.
But people love him.
Well, a certain number of voters love him.
Right.
But I do believe, with all respect to him, he's a delightful political figure.
If you're like him when you're 92, man.
Well, the reason I love my
that's
job,
a long way away.
My job so much is that you meet these people, you get to know them, because they are brilliant people, great minds. But in 2016, to have a 92-year-old chief minister is an anachronism. And frankly, his economics, he's 92 years old, but his economics is about 130 years old. It goes right back to sort of Bolshevik times. Kerala deserves better than that. Left or right. Kerala's problem is that even when the Congress comes to power, I'm not sure between, Mr. Antony and between the last 2 or 3 last chief ministers that the left had, who was more left. So Kerala is a state which has indulged in incredible self-denial.
But what about that? You could see his charisma when he said, "So, you do it best." How did he say?
No, he said, Mr. Modi does all day Shochalayam, 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 but he doesn't talk about supper, which means
food.
If he's not ensuring that you get food to eat, what use is Shochalaya to you? It's very funny, and I know it entertains people.
And it actually does. It makes a point that please focus on poverty and food.
Yeah, but it's not the reality of Kerala.
Yeah.
Because if Kerala doesn't have widespread starvation, and if it does, then a lot of the blame lies with the left. Right. So it's entertaining, but I think it's a bit rubbishy.
Right. But it's effective. You can see how he's good with crowds.
All these things entertain the faithful. That's what happens also when Mr. Modi campaigns or the
faithful
BJP
like
campaigns.
Dorab.
Yes.
So Mr. Achyutanandan is a man of his own views.
Right.
Don't forget that he and Mr. Vijayan were both thrown out of the Politburo. Right. Mr. Vijayan was brought back in. Right. Not Mr. Achyutanandan. He's not brought back. Yeah. But they know that he's untamable.
Untamable. That's a good word. Okay, just like we've seen the kind of homogeneity in politics, 2 main fronts, BJP trying to make a breakthrough, but basically 2 main fronts with a very high index of opposition unity. On the other hand, the voters in this state are not homogeneous. You have a sizable Muslim population, a sizable Christian population, and they all live in complete harmony. It's beautiful to go down this state. Hindus, Muslims, Christians interacting without any animosity. Let's have a look at how heterogeneous this population of Kerala is. This is what it looks like. The Muslims in Kerala are 27% of the population. All India, that's almost double all India, which is 14. Christians in Kerala, 18%. That's 9 times higher than the all India average. A very strong minority community. Basically, 27 plus 18, Muslim plus Christian is 45%, and Hindus 55. So almost 50-50. And you don't have tension here. It's a wonderful atmosphere. You can drive down the road, you see Christians holding, prayer meetings, you see Muslims holding prayer meetings, you see Hindus. It is a wonderful atmosphere which the whole country needs to learn from. Now, if we move on and we look at how do these different communities vote, this is roughly, in our estimation, based on past data of elections, how they vote. The Muslims essentially are a little more, they lean more to the UDF, the Congress. It's about 50% to the UDF and 40% to the left Democratic Front. Christians, much stronger for the Congress-led UDF, 65% compared to 25% for the left Democratic Front. And the Hindus lean more towards the left Democratic Front, 50 to 40, and the 10% are to others in all these cases. So that's roughly the division politically, voting-wise, for each of these religious groups. Now, what about where are they in Kerala? Just look at this. First of all, we know Muslims and Christians together are 45%. But where are they located? Well, the Muslims mainly in the north. Of course, there are pockets elsewhere in Kerala. And the Christians mainly in the central and slightly going into the south. So the Muslims do vote fairly strongly for the UDF in the north, and the Christians very strongly for the UDF in central. And wherever there's Hindus, they tend to lean towards the left and the communists. Now, so if we just want to look at how do parties decide where they're going to get their votes from, let's have a look at where they get their votes from, each party. If you take the UDF, the Congress-led UDF, out of every 100 votes, it gets only 44 from Hindus, 27 from Christians, and 29 from Muslims. And if you look at the LDF, out of every 100 votes, 65 come from Hindus, only 9 from Christians, and 26 from Muslims. So Muslims are pretty evenly divided, or leaning a little towards the Congress, but the Christians are very clear on what they prefer. One last division in Kerala's heterogeneous population, the major castes. There are 2 major castes, the Edavas and the Nayars. Now the Edavas tend to vote for the left and Democratic Front. They are 23% of the population, and the Nayars are 14%. But the Edavas, 50% for the left and 35% for the Congress, and the Nayars, 50% for the Congress, 35% of the left. And these are rough patterns, Dorab, over time, plus or minus 2-3%. But these are kind of written almost in stone here.
Mr. Achyutanandan is an Edava, so he's a great Edava leader. This time, of course, a slight change in the situation is that a strong Edava party has come in as an ally with the BJP. So the question is whether the BJP might take away some votes from the left Democratic Front because of the Edava strength.
Right. Shekhar, now we see Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Edavas, Nayars, and they all come together, this heterogeneity, and produce a homogeneous election. It's like, it's not being torn apart. This state is coming together in elections.
Yes, and it always does. But there is one change now in the politics of Kerala, which is that backstreet violence has now come in. And this is violence mainly between cadres of the RSS/BJP and CPM. In fact, it has led to a lot of deaths on both sides, and very brutal deaths. People have been slashed to death, people have been beaten to death. It's a terrible new phenomenon. There's been some violence in the past between Congress and the left, but what is happening right now between RSS and CPM is quite sharp. And I think political minds, the senior leaders have to get together in Kerala to calm things down there.
I think at the national level itself, political adversaries are turning into political enemies. Right. And I think then that happens, they're bound to have some degree of violence.
The tension thermometer across the country is rising, and it's happening here as well. Well, we talked about Achyutanandan, but the man who is likely to be the next Chief Minister, Mr. Pinarayi.
If the LDF win.
If
the LDF wins. Yeah, obviously if
You
if
aren't
they win.
declaring victory, are you yet?
No, that I'm leaving to you. And then we'll know the opposite will happen. Sorry. Never. You always get it. He's known, you know what his nickname is? Spot on.
we can't excel ourselves after Bihar. So I think
Correct.
You see, just people didn't hear us right. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So let's have a look. We spoke to Mr. Pinarayi, and he is actually somewhat changing his image. He's becoming a much more friendly, open, from a very hard liner and a tough personality, a much more accessible person. Even Shekhar was charmed and surprised.
Comrade, politics of Kerala is generally left of center. You are obviously left, Congress is also left of center. So what is the difference between the two parties and the kind of governments you offer?
കേരളത്തിലെ ജനങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതാനുഭവം തന്നെയാണ് ഇതിന് സാക്ഷ്യം. കേരളത്തിൽ മൻമോഹൻ സിംഗിന്റെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഉള്ള കാലത്ത് LDFന്റെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ആയിരുന്നു ഉണ്ടായത്. മൻമോഹൻ സിംഗ് നടപ്പാക്കിയ നവ ഉദാരവൽക്കരണ നയം കേരളത്തിൽ നിയോലിബറലിസം LDF നടപ്പാക്കിയില്ല. അതിന്റെ ഫലമായി കേരളത്തിലെ ജനങ്ങൾ സംതൃപ്തരായിരുന്നു. എന്നാൽ ഉമ്മൻചാണ്ടിയുടെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് വന്നതിന് ശേഷം 2011 മുതൽ മൻമോഹൻ സിംഗ് ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ കാലത്ത് തന്നെ ഇവിടെ നടപ്പാക്കിയത് നവ ഉദാരവൽക്കരണ നയമാണ്. നവ ഉദാരവൽക്കരണ നയത്തിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പ്രത്യേകത പാവപ്പെട്ടവർക്കെതിരാണല്ലോ അത്.
In West Bengal, you are allying with the Congress. Here you are fighting the Congress. Are you against that alliance in West Bengal?
ബംഗാളിനെ കുറിച്ച് വരുന്ന വാർത്ത, അതിന്റെ മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും എനിക്ക് പറയില്ല എന്താണ് സംഭവിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. ആ വാർത്തകളുടെ നിജസ്ഥിതി മനസ്സിലാക്കിയതിന് ശേഷം പിന്നീട് പറയാൻ മാത്രമേ കഴിയൂ.
Is it an embarrassment for you in Kerala?
അല്ല, ഞങ്ങൾ ഇവിടെ ശക്തമായി കേരളത്തെ എതിർത്തുകൊണ്ട് പോവുകയാണ്. ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് യാതൊരു തരത്തിലുള്ള ആലോചനയും ഒരു തലത്തിലും കോൺഗ്രസുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെടുന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഉണ്ടാകാനേ കഴിയില്ല. കാരണം ശക്തമായി കോൺഗ്രസിനെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ എതിർക്കുന്നത്.
No coalition government. If you win, you'll have a coalition government in West Bengal.
No. We have no understanding with the Congress.
If you win the election, then
No. That problem is not arising.
So if you come into power, what will be your prohibition policy in relation to the current policy? Will you go back to the old policy or continue with the current policy?
ഞങ്ങള് മദ്യത്തിന്റെ ഉപഭോഗം വർദ്ധിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്നതിലാണ് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. മാത്രമല്ല, മദ്യത്തിന്റെ ഉപഭോഗം കുറച്ചു കൊണ്ടുവരാനുള്ള ഫലപ്രദമായ നടപടികൾ ഞങ്ങൾ സ്വീകരിക്കും. ഇവിടെ 23 വയസ്സ് ആ പ്രായം വരെ മദ്യം ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്ന ഒരു നിലപാട് ഞങ്ങൾ എടുക്കും. 23 വയസ്സ് വരെ ഉള്ളവർക്ക് മദ്യം കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ശിക്ഷാർഹമാവും. മദ്യത്തിനെതിരെ മദ്യവർജന സമിതിയുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടുള്ള പ്രചാരണങ്ങൾ ഞങ്ങൾ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കും.
So if you win these elections, the party will decide who's the chief minister.
Yes.
Everybody is saying you will be chief minister. There's one formula that's also doing the rounds, that the Jyoti Basu formula. V.S. Achyutanandan will be for 1 year and then you will be for 4 years. Are you okay with that? If the party decides?
അല്ല, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ, ആര് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആകണം എന്ന കാര്യത്തിൽ ഞങ്ങളെ ഇടയിൽ ഒരു തരത്തിലുള്ള ആശയക്കുഴപ്പവും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. അത് ഇലക്ഷൻ കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അപ്പം തന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾ തീരുമാനിക്കും. ഒരു പ്രയാസം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല.
There is a history of internal dissensions in CPM in Kerala.
ഒരു കാലത്ത് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അത് പാർട്ടിക്കകത്തുള്ള വിഭാഗീയതയുടെ ഭാഗമായിരുന്നു. ആ വിഭാഗീയത ഞങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ പൂർണ്ണമായിട്ട് പരിഹരിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു. ഇപ്പോൾ പാർട്ടി നല്ല ഐക്യത്തോടെയാണ് പോകുന്നത്.
So am I shaking hands with the next chief minister of Kerala? No answer.
He can't answer, surely.
Sure. Thank you very much for spending the time. Thank you.
Thank you for your
campaigning.
Thank you for your visit.